Thank you so much, Aaron. Building on that last conversation regarding customer centricity and communications, utilities have recognized that C&I customers want more control and more affordable clean energy options. Forward-looking utilities like NRG are finding new ways and innovative ways to engage their C&I customers to help provide the services they're looking for. To discuss the future of customer centricity with commercial industrial clients, I'm joined by Robert Gaudette, who is the Senior Vice President of NRG Business Solutions. Robert, thank you so much for speaking with us and joining us at ETS.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So let's dive right in. NRG has made a very strong commitment to providing clean energy. Why have you particularly focused around providing clean energy for your C&I customers?
So it comes down to really three things that I hold, fairly consistently true, right? The energy business of the future isn't going to look like the energy business of today, right? That's the first. The second is climate change is real, right? And it's a real threat, but it's also a real opportunity. And then finally, and the most important part of the kind of three pieces is if you listen to your customers, it will always pay off. And what we've heard from the customers is that the call for decarbonization is growing from businesses to consumers to investors, right? And what they're seeing is they're seeing the real risks of climate change, and they're seeing the real benefits of sustainable energy, or the sustainable energy future. And they're seeing it and their effects on their industries, on their lives, and for the investors on their portfolios. And so it's something that we just have to meet them where they're at and develop products that make sense for them. It's really a win-win for all of us.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, and I like the way that you framed those three motivating factors behind it. As you think about those challenges, and so often we have focused on the negative side around climate change, and that it is going to have this terrible impact. Being able to reframe it, capture some agency, say we have the opportunity to not only make a positive difference from a sustainability perspective, but also look at the economic opportunity, I think is a very empowering way to engage with those customers. And NRG isn't just committed to helping customers achieve their sustainability goals. You've set some pretty aggressive carbon goals yourself. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I'd love to. I'm super proud of what NRG has done over the last 6 or so years. We talked about how climate change is a risk and an opportunity. We also think of it as a large energy company as a responsibility, right? Doing something about our carbon footprint is something that we have to do. We have a responsibility to manage and include our plans in combating climate change. In 2014, we were an industry leader and we came out with aggressive climate goals. And I'm happy to say that last year we updated those goals. We made them even more aggressive. And we followed science-based goals both in 2014 and in now to the 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway, which for us means a 50% reduction by 2025 and net zero in 2050. Those are goals that you hear out of a lot of consumer products companies. You don't hear that out of energy companies. And I am proud to be at a place where we're ready to take that challenge on, and we're ready to make the moves necessary to do our part in combating climate change.
Well, and doing your part in combating climate change, I know you really emphasize the ability to help customers achieve those sustainability goals. And customers are at the center of everything that NRG does. Can you give me an example, and our audience an example of how of that practice at work, working specifically with your customers?
Sure. So we have a large commercial and industrial client base in ERCOT in Texas, right? And in Texas, that market has robust retail choice, which translates into I have to fight for and compete for my customers every day. And the way you do that in energy is by providing innovative services and innovative products in a way that the customer can understand and actually benefit from. So we were talking to our customers. This gets back to, listen to your customers. We were talking to our customers and we saw this growing demand for renewable power. And we've all heard and have seen big swaths of renewable power get taken down by very large companies, big tech companies with very large checkbooks and big energy staffs, right? A lot of my customers aren't that big and they don't have 50 people on their energy staff. And so when they started looking at renewable power, it seemed very, very burdensome, right? And if you think about the complexity of a power purchase agreement for a renewable deal, it's 250 pages. It's, fought out by lawyers. It takes months to develop. And then it has a whole bunch of risk that a non-energy player has to manage, right? So as we looked at this, we saw our mid-sized customers just walking away. Like this was too hard or too burdensome or too clumsy for them to be able to do it. So we got involved, we thought about it, and we created a product called Renewable Select, where we step in, right? We work with the developer, we do the PPA work. And then that same retail customer who wanted to run from the process can now get all the attributes, right? Get all of the same things you would get out of a PPA, but you get it on a retail contract that's 10 pages long, as opposed to a 300-page contract. And you buy energy and you know the same risks that you used to buy energy for your plant before is exactly the same as it is today, except now you have a solar farm or a wind farm that's providing that electricity to you. And NRG steps in the middle and takes all of that market risk and all of those details that, honestly, that's where we should be playing. Let our customer do their thing and provide them a way to get the renewable power they want. And that has definitely democratized the way that renewable power is available to the mid-sized business customer, right? And what happens is that you create this cycle. So now our customer gets what they want. I'm happy because my customer's happy. And we continue to grow this that gets bigger and bigger. Now developers are doing more deals with us, right? And getting more PPAs done. And so the cycle continues. We continue to grow renewable energy in the marketplace. And we continue to make customers give customers the opportunity to get the product they want. Everybody in this chain is getting, a benefit. I'm developing and creating products for my customer, which makes me happy. My customer gets what they want, which makes them happy. And developers have a new way to take electricity or their product to market through this Renewable Select or through me to our customers. That's what I would say is when you think about what a customer wants and then drive from there and develop from there, everybody wins.
I think that's such a great point. And I think the benefit as you started, you really focused on how that impacts the customer in a very positive way. It takes the legwork off from them. They might care deeply about the environment. They also certainly care deeply about their financial bottom line. But going through the minutia of that power purchase agreement can be daunting, to say the least. Sure. And you're simplifying that. But then on the back end, you're also working with those those developers, those renewable power providers, and giving them a new access and a new entry point to the market without having to fight tooth and nail to gain new customers in a way where that customer doesn't understand all of that minutia that we talked about.
That's right. And think about it. It would be easier for a developer to do a PPA with us than Sure. It would with another customer, from a general customer, because we've done them, right? Yeah. We know what they look like. We can get quickly to resolution and move on. Whereas, you have to educate, new players in the market every time. This is such a great product for, the end use customer, and it's a great product for the market. It has really created opportunities to bring renewable energy in a customer focused way versus, on the flip side, it used to be from a developer kind of perspective. Now we've actually started with the customer, and that path is the future for every new product that's going to make a difference in energy. Start with the customer and move forward.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's starting with the customer and it's engaging with the customer that I know is of a real passion for you. How are you and NRG developing new ways to engage with your C&I customers?
Yeah, so the world has definitely changed, right? Over the last, couple decades. We won't say how many. Our it started with just think about society itself. We think of the demands that we have today that we would have thought were ridiculous 20 years ago. I want in one product a map, a phone, an email system, somebody who will tell me every answer to every question I have. And I want it all right here. It needs to always be charged and it can't cost, $3 million. That same mindset, that same expectation, right, has translated from your everyday consumer like you and me over to the business side, right? And it had kind of been delaying or had been delayed along the way, both in energy and then more specifically in the business side of energy or C&I side. But that's caught up, right? And customers now expect that they're not just buying a commodity, they're buying a service and they're buying a product that gives them information. And the way we think about this is that, okay, our customer wants information. They want to be able to engage around our product. That's a great thing. I don't want to be a commodity guy. What I want to be is your service provider. I want to partner with you in the future. And so the investments and the thoughts that we've made around how we engage with customers is all about information and data flow, right? We provide ways now for our customers to see how they use energy. We help them understand where the energy comes from. We help them, translate, the latest step has been from you use, so many kilowatts or megawatts a day, right? Which is great for energy guys, right? The CFO doesn't know what a megawatt is, and nor does he care.
Really doesn't care. Yeah.
What she wants to know is, okay, how's that affect my bottom line? And how does that affect my budget? And so the efforts that we're making today are around, let's give that energy manager for the company all the information he needs. So you give him the technical detail, you give him the meter reads, you give him the ability to look backwards and see, this is where I used energy and how. We give him the ability to look forward. And this is what the cost of energy could look like given where the curves are. So we do all of that for the energy manager. And then we're creating products or add-ons to the same service, free, but same service, that translates that all into dollars. Last year, you spent $110,000 on electricity. This year, the market's done this, and your price is $90,000, or it has been to date. Oh, by the way, if you think about the way you use energy, let's have a conversation about how we can improve the way you use energy. Stop using energy when it's, in Texas, it can go to $9,000, right? And so if you're an indexed customer, that can get real expensive really fast. But let's talk about that. Let's think about how we manage your risk, both your energy manager's thought of risk, which is I can't run out of power and I can't pay too much, and your CFO's thought of risk, which is I cannot bust my budget. And so we've worked together with our customers, again, listening what they need, realizing that every customer has a different touch point, right? From accounts payable teams, they need very easy ways to pay their bill, to energy managers who need to understand what's going on and what the options are, to CFOs and finance folks. What's the bill look like? What's it gonna look like? And how does that compare in the past? And what we do is what we've seen is that the more information we can provide a customer, the more they become a partner, the easier our future conversations are, and the more open they are to other options and other paths that we can take around their bill, right? You don't have to just buy fixed price power, and you don't just have to receive a bill, and that's what you do. Like, the world of engaging your customer by sending them a bill once a month is gone in competitive markets, and it should be gone everywhere.
Well, as you're thinking about that various different customer journey within your specific customer, and whether it's the CFO or the energy manager, how critical is data and technology for providing best-in-class customer engagement? And what does NRG need in terms of data to provide it?
So data and technology is the only reason that we're capable of doing the things that I just talked about. Data is the core to understanding someone's usage and understanding how their power works. The days of reading your meter once a month are gone, and the pricing mechanisms that work that way are gone, and the customer expectations that was okay are gone. So the advances that we've seen in data, the advances we've seen in metering, and the advances that we've seen in technology have opened the door and raised the bar on how you serve customers. So it's absolutely critical to everything we do. Data is the lifeline that I have between me and the customer. And the data that we need to understand and we need to know is really comes to, it's two kind of broad but basic concepts. How much are you using and what does it cost right now? And what I mean by that is in the wholesale market, not necessarily the retail rate. And if you have those two components and you can look and work with the customer, you can have a conversation with them about if you reduce your usage during these hours in these months, your bill is going to drop. The CFO likes to hear your bill drops by 10 grand, right? Or if you could shift the way that you use your process, think big C&I, move your process so that you're not firing off compressors between 3 in the afternoon and 6 p.m. in July, that makes sense, right? And so having that data, those two streams, cost and use, those two things drive all kinds of conversations, both with the customer about what they can do, but also about the product choices that we can offer them and the ways that we can work together to mitigate their risks, provide services into the market like, load following or whatever, and ultimately reduce their costs. Because what I want is I want a market that thrives. So it's got to work. I want customers that thrive, because if I have customers that thrive, then I will be just fine, right? That's the goal. And by having data and having technology, you can wrap through or think through all of the different permutations, work with the customer, get the right solution for them and meet their expectations. Because, think back to the original, you wouldn't just buy something that just calls people. Like, that's not where we're at. And our business customers have advanced to that level. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I think you did. I want to take this opportunity to maybe drill down even a little bit further. And I guess it's probably on a case-by-case basis, but how granular do you get with some of your customers about their data, about their energy use data, and the optionality when it comes to energy efficiency and then renewables? Is that something that a lot of them want to hear about? Some of them want to hear about?
So at a just general basic level, every one of my customers, we provide 15-minute interval data on a delayed basis, right? So we get the data from the system and then we provide that to them. Some of the customers are large enough where they either have an interest or I have an interest, because they're so big that we have real-time telemetry on their stuff. So we know exactly what they're doing all the time. And the reason why that's important, so for a smaller company, being able to look back and see where you use power, you can have some behavioral changes. You can think about what you do and how you do it. And it may indicate that, what this customer is actually a very interesting prospect or could provide service to the overall market as a DR, customer, or demand response customer, or load shifting or something. It also provides the baseline for anything you want to think about from an energy efficiency basis, right? So all of that stuff is applicable to every customer. For the very large customers, or the guys that have the ability to take their load up and down considerably, real-time telemetry is important, because if I can work with that customer, we can save them thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in the same day. Right? Hey guys, you're a 300 megawatt load. The price of power is only $900 right now. You're on index, but wind's failing or coming off. It's really hot. You need to think about curtailing load. And if they go from 300 to 100, the math gets pretty big quick. And we've worked with customers, very large customers, around that specifically. But for all of our customers, we'll tell them, look, you're on index load. You've seen that. See the price that's on the chart. Let me walk you through it. See your load. Those two things going up at the same time. That doesn't make your CFO happy, right? So, we can get as granular as right now, and just as table stakes, it's backward looking at 15-minute intervals, right? And then our ability to our team that works with the customers can take both that usage data and their bill and have a conversation about energy in the future for them and the different products that they could have, right? Sometimes that leads to a renewable conversation. Sometimes that leads to demand response. Sometimes that leads to, this is a really neat internet system that you have. How do I go to where, how do I pay my bill, right? At the end of the day, I don't care. I want to continue to talk to the customers and continue to work with them, because the longer we work with them, the better the partnership we have, the more we all can thrive in the future.
Well, Robert, I think that you really have described so perfectly the relationship between data and what the customer needs, because a customer is going to be motivated by a variety of different factors. Some customers are going to be more motivated by that drive for clean, renewable energy. Others are going to be more motivated by the bottom line, and some will be a mixture of both. But the key to underpinning all of that, is, as you've so perfectly described, is data. And as we look out, as we look at the marketplace right now, and then we take out a crystal ball and look at what customer centricity looks like into the future, can you describe for us your perspective on how customer centricity, what it looks like at this moment for utilities, and then how it evolves over the next decade?
Sure. So when I think about the customer focus of companies like mine, so competitive energy providers, today, or to describe where we are today, we are collecting as much data as we can, right? And that's either through metering or bill reads or whatever that is. And depending on the marketplace and depending on the customer, that can range from immediate, so real time, up to 15-minute numbers to, you may not know the data for 30 days, but you have 15-minute intervals, but it's 30 days late. That's where we sit today. We take that data, we put it into useful visualizations, for lack of a better word. We draw pictures with that data, and then we have conversations with our customer, right? That is a very manual process. The computers can draw the pictures, we can collect all the data, but a customer and a representative have to talk, right? And you have to go through customer by customer and think about what the right thing is for them. And so where we sit today is we are with the biggest, and I being at C&I and my clients are large, we touch most of them, right? And we work through what makes sense for them, but that still lands on people to think through what the right product is for this customer at this moment. If I look forward, right? If I use the crystal ball, which I hate using, but I look forward, I can guarantee two things. One, not going to look like however I describe it. And two, data is going to be even more important then than it is now. And so when I think about what the future looks like, I see real-time data. So people knowing how much data, not only am I going to know how much power they're using on a real-time basis, customers are going to know on a real-time basis, how much power they're using, and they're going to care. That data is going to be across all the markets. We're going to have real-time pricing, real-time usage all the time, because at my client base, large C&I customers are the future to balancing a marketplace that is more and more dependent on renewable energy. And what I mean by that is today we have some renewables and we have traditional generation. And then you have guys like you and me who use our air conditioners. When I turn my AC on, it requires more power. If the sun can provide it, great. If it can't, you turn a power plant up, right? We have that optionality. When you move forward, there's going to be even more renewable power. And so what's going to happen is that not only are we going to have to count on generation to balance the world, we're going to have to count on load. We're going to have to count on my customers. And with this real-time data, that's working through, not only are we going to have traditional demand response, we're going to have very specific demand response to a client that fits their needs all the time. Right? If you think about the way the markets are structured today, demand response is what we are going to call you, 15 times over the summer, right? Okay. Well, for my customers, where I see the future going is, you know what, Rob? I can't turn off between the hours of 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. because we have a very critical part of our chemical process that runs every day. And I know it's not great, but that's the way it is. With this real-time data and this future that I'm seeing, all of these products can be tailored around them. So, you know what? I'm going to offer you a real-time demand response product that stops at 3 and doesn't start again until 5. That's the capabilities that more data, more technology, more understanding of the customer that we'll get to. And when we do that, we will truly be optimizing the marketplace in such a way that we are providing for our customers not only a service and a value product, we're providing them information and insight. And then on the market side, we're helping balance this market in a world where we're ultimately going to need more and more renewables to combat climate change, right? And this curve from where we sit today to where that is considerably faster than I think anybody can appreciate. Technology and metering and batteries and renewables, all of those things have made, incredible change possible. And we are just getting started. And so when I look to the future, I get excited about the fact that not only is my customer a taker off the grid or off the market, there'll also be a provider of a service into the market, which will ultimately reduce the overall costs of electricity for that market. And more specifically, reduce the electricity costs for my customers. So they don't have to worry about paying a power bill. They can go worry about making widgets or oil or whatever it is they do. That's my crystal ball look. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but that excites me every day.
Well, Robert, I would say, first of all, thank you for going out of your comfort zone and going with the crystal ball analogy. I know that you prefer not to do that, but I think you have provided a really hopeful and I think very accurate picture of how things could and should evolve over the next 5 to 10 years. You've described so perfectly the customizable, frictionless customer experience where the customer sits inside and is a participant in the energy system. And I think that that's something that, whether it's in the regulated side of the business or the non-regulated competitive market, I think a lot of people can learn from your example and NRG's example. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this has been a wonderful conversation about the future of customer centricity for C&I customers. And now we've got a special treat for you. It's lunchtime for many people around the country. And we are going to have that special ETS flair of a cooking class. So Robert, I hope you'll stick around and learn a thing or two about cooking for us. But
absolutely,
we turn it back over to Aaron Hardick, and I hope everybody sticks around for cooking. Thanks so much to NRG and to Robert.